Citrus trees are subtropical, so they have a certain amount of cold sensitivity. And you need to know that some of them are more cold sensitive than others. For example, you can grow satsumas and kumquats in the ground, and they'll be cold tolerant down to the mid-teens. A Meyer lemon, we grow so many of those here, they'll be cold tolerant to the mid to upper 20s, but lime trees, they're really sensitive and they really can't tolerate below freezing. And when I say cold tolerant, what I'm talking about is the tree itself will be okay, but there may be some superficial damage to the leaves and the branches, but the main part of the tree stays intact. What should you do to protect your tree in the ground? Well, you should make sure that it's mulched anyway. You mulch it with some shredded bark or some pine straw just to protect that root area. Always water your tree before a freeze. You don't think about this, but evergreen trees particularly benefit from having a good watering just before a freeze. You can make a little tent for your tree using row cover or blankets. You can wrap it around. What you're trying to do is trap the ground source heat up around the tree. You can add a heat source by using incandescent tree lights rather than LEDs. If you can't protect your tree because it's got too big, and obviously after a while they do get too tall to cover completely as a tent, you can do the best thing for it is to protect the trunk of the tree. And what you want to do is protect it by wrapping the trunk from the ground all the way up to above the grafting point. If you have them in a container outside, they're going to be more sensitive to freezing than if their roots were in the ground. So bear that in mind if you have a container grown plant. Those roots are up above and are exposed to that cold air. Now, if you grow in a container, there are things you also have to remember. The first thing and most important thing I remember is that not to have a container that gets too heavy. If you have a heavy ceramic pot that's full of soil and then you have a mature tree inside that, that's a really heavy thing to move when you have to get it in quickly for a freeze. So try and choose a container that's not too heavy. The plastic resin ones, they're pretty good these days. The dwarfing varieties can stay in containers pretty much their whole lives. The larger trees like the grapefruit and the oranges, eventually you'll want to grow them out in the ground just because they've a big framework and big root network.